Hold on to your butts.
Well, hold on, because we got to get the intro going. Plus, my
That's
beard is
right.
rough. So play that intro.
Let's get it. Shake it like understand who I is. Not that many gon' do it like this. Bob your head, we can hit my shit, but I'm on my shit. I ain't had no chill. I'm who I are. I'm who I is.
All right, let's bring this back. Welcome to our live stream. This is a TDG The Dating Game collab with me on my own channel. We're streaming across multiple platforms. I am one half of TDG King. And putting in his earphones there is my main man, Sean. Sean, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
All right. Yep. Hey, man. So first of all, thanks for taking the time to do this, y'all. Look, the content don't stop. TDG is going to try our best to put some edutainment out there when it comes to certain subjects. And today we're going to talk about the actual cost of traveling. All right. The Passport Bros has been in on these YouTube streets, social media and stuff in general. But people think that it's easy to just up and get up and travel somewhere. So what I wanted to do was have a conversation with you about your most recent trip to Australia, the land down under. How bad was that sound?
Probably not great. They probably wouldn't have appreciated that.
Okay, so
Crikey.
crikey, mate. Oh man. Hey, y'all, Australia. Don't cancel me yet. I'm still trying to get back there. Okay. So how we're gonna line this up is we're gonna work through your costs and then just things in general, right? Stuff that if somebody wants to travel from the United States to Australia, realistically, what are they looking like? What are they looking at as far as the total numbers when it's all said and done? How much did you budget versus how much the trip actually cost you? So let's just jump right into that. So this
Well,
was your
before we
first.
jump into it, let's
Uh-oh.
do a quick little shout out to the people in the room. So we got Tarika Smith. Is that a mod?
Yep. That is our mod. Shout out to Miss Smith. What up? We got Michelle Early in the building, checking in on both platforms, which
Oh,
that's an overachiever right there. I appreciate her for that. And we got Greek the Pete. Hold on, Pete the Greek in the building as well. Salute
is a porn star?
to him. Hey, in his mind, he might be. Henry Resilient, man. Salute to him. He said, let's go. That is what's up. Appreciate you for tuning in. So, Sean, you just went to Australia. Was this your first time going there?
It was. Um, yeah, I would probably have to say Australia wasn't on my list of places to go. Like, wasn't high. Before I met my friend who or is from there. She doesn't live there anymore. Um, she was on one of our live feeds before. If you
Yep.
remember what we did with her and what was it? I forget her name, but yeah, we had a pretty decent live feed with her as well. I'm terrible with names. Um, but yeah, if it wasn't for her, I probably would have never gone because what ended up happening was we talk every now and again through WhatsApp because I originally met her in Japan when I was traveling to Japan.
Hmm.
So we might talk about that later on in the show as well. But like I said, met her in Japan. We stayed in contact, and then she told me she was going home to Australia for the holidays, and asked if I wanted to, tag along because a couple years prior she came to America for the first time, and I showed her around, so she kind of wanted to return the favor. So that's how I ended up in Australia.
All right. Now, there's somebody that put into the comment here, and that's one of the first things that we're going to touch on as far as the cost was the cost of the flight. How long of a flight was it from where you flew out of to you end up going to Brisbane, Australia, man? Talk about that before we get into the cost.
Okay, so when I was booking the travel, I basically had two choices: a direct flight or there was layover stops, and I think there was two. So it was only direct or two layovers. So I flew out of BWI.
Mhm.
It's Baltimore Washington International for some of y'all. and from BWI, I flew to Denver, Colorado. So in Denver, Colorado, I had a layover of, whew, I want to say it was probably at least 12 hours, but I think it was more than that. I don't remember specifically right now. And then from Denver, I flew to San Francisco. And San Francisco is about anywhere from a 2 to 4 hour layover. I remember it specifically, but basically, I flew from San Francisco to Brisbane, Australia, and that was, ooh, I'm forgetting my time, but I think it was either 14 or 16 hours. Um, and it was the longest flight I've been on, because there's nowhere to land, unless you want to land in the ocean. That's probably not a good thing. Um, but the one thing I can tell people is if you're going to fly from America to Australia, make sure you buy better than economy. Unless you're a smaller person, then that might work for you. I'm 6'2", 260, and economy was not the right move for me.
Okay.
So yeah.
All
Go ahead.
right. So don't get too far ahead of me, because this is some of the things that I'm glad. So I'm glad that you brought that up. I am extremely glad that you brought that up, because now let's talk about the cost of the ticket. Before you looked at the price, how much were you willing to pay for the cost of the ticket?
Phew. So I would love to pay nothing,
Uh-huh.
but that's not feasible. I was thinking anywhere between, like, I don't know, like 1 to 2 grand. I was thinking round trip. Because when I did my travels to Japan, which was a 20-day trip, it wasn't just to Japan. I did a couple different stops. Quick story: I got laid off in 2018. So in 2018, when I got laid off, they gave me plenty of notice, and I got severance and everything like that, and all my vacation time. So I was like, I'm gonna go take a long vacation. So I decided, let me go visit a couple of the places I've always wanted to visit. And Japan was one of the stops. The UK was another stop, and also Amsterdam. And I also had some layovers in Reykjavik, Iceland, which I went to the Blue Lagoon. And I definitely recommend that if you have a layover in Iceland, or if you just want to go to Iceland, go check out the Blue Moon. Very relaxing hot spring. Um, and then I also had a layover in Dubai for about 12 hours. That was fun. Went to the mall there and saw the Burj Khalifa. Got some, I think, IHOP. I didn't want to have my stomach messed up, so I didn't want to. I want, yeah, I wanted to, try some actual, like, food from the country, but I was like, probably not a good idea. I don't want to spend my time on the airport toilet. I mean, airplane toilet, basically.
Uh-huh.
So I went safe and just got some IHOP. Um, and then from there, I went to Japan, and that's where I spent the bulk of my time, about 8, 9 days in Japan, and had a layover after I left Japan in Honolulu for another 12 hours, and I enjoyed that as well. Went to the beach, flew my drone, actually got in the water at the beach, had some beach food like a hot dog or a hamburger, whatever it was, and then I came back home. Another layover in Washington State, which I'm not gonna talk about because there's nothing Washington State as far as I'm concerned. It's just sparkly vampires up there. Um, but yeah, getting back to Australia. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
How how much were you thinking that the cost was going to be? Because you bought your ticket about 5 months prior. How much did you think it was going to cost?
Right. So I was thinking between $1,000 to $2,000, because that whole, like, I'm just gonna call it that whole Japan trip where I was away for 20 days. I spent about 5 grand. That's flights, that's food, that's staying. I stayed mostly in hostels. And hostels are very nice. Don't they're not what you think you see in the movies. They're basically the hotels that you're just sharing a room with. So they're very nice in Europe. I don't know how they are in the United States, but in Europe, they're nice. Um, and you can also save on price in a hostel if you get a co-ed room.
We'll talk
Aha.
about lodging later. You're getting ahead of it.
Sorry,
You get.
sorry.
I'm going to let's start, because the bulk of travel, in my eyes, you can break down travel into a couple of different categories. You got your pre-departure costs, you got your transportation costs, meals, lodging, and miscellaneous. You can throw everything else into miscellaneous. So what you want to do as far as experiences, things that might pop up and things like that. But I'm going to drive you down the path, so to speak, to get you to talk about things in a certain way. So don't get too far ahead of me. So you were thinking about $1 to $2 grand. Were you surprised when you see this sticker price of $4,161 US?
I was very surprised when I saw it $4 grand. 'Cause I was like, oh, I was actually thinking I'm not even going. I was like, but then I was thinking, you know what? You got to live. You get one chance to live, and this was going to be very convenient for me because basically I wouldn't have to pay for any lodging because since I was going to be staying with my friend and she was taking care of the lodging, um, I had to pay for any hotels. So most time we spent with her family. We did have a hotel for I think like 4 or 5 days. So 2 days she got us a hotel, and I think that was Gold Coast. And then the last like 2 or 3 days we were there for the New Year's, I got us a hotel because I had points that I could use and get them for free. So
Okay, so when I get to the hotels, I'm going to ask you the cost of the hotels for how much you spend on just those 2 days, and then I'm gonna kind of average it out because you stayed with somebody. So that's one way of you can kind of say saving money, so to speak. But I want to kind of get the numbers as if, hey, if you didn't have anybody, how much would that trip have cost you? So you're at $4,161. And then you decided to add 825 because you're over 6 foot tall. And as you said earlier, flying economy on a long flight, it's just not going to work for you. So you did this the day of the flight. And as y'all see, this is December 25th. My man flew on Christmas Day. Is
oh
that
no no
correct?
no no no, that's not correct. That's when I purchased the my return flight seat because I knew it was going to
Okay.
fill up.
Oh,
Yeah,
so on the way down, you flew economy.
yeah. Hmm.
Okay, so had you done this both ways, you likely would have been paying about the same price, like times two.
What the 825? You mean?
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah, most likely. Yeah. And
Okay.
that wasn't even first class. That was just the next row up, which was I guess you can call business class.
All right. So travel tip number one, when just looking at the transportation costs, because that's going to be a bulk of your cost when traveling internationally is the flight. That's likely over half of your budgeted amount. Now, before we even get into the rest of it, I'm going to say this. I don't recommend broke traveling. All right.
Right.
I'm going to say have a plan on what you plan on spending for transportation, lodging, meals, sightseeing, and miscellaneous. And for your miscellaneous, I'd say that should be at least 10% of what your total budgeted cost is going to be.
Mhm.
So right
And don't
now
forget
we're
yeah,
at
don't forget
4,000.
emergency money.
Yep. We're at $4,993 on just your flight alone.
Right.
Okay. $4,993. And this is for a total of how long?
So it's a total of 2 weeks, so it's 14 days, but I lost days in travel. So it was actually, I think, 11 days.
All right. So we're at 11 days total on the ground, about 3 to 4 days traveling. All right. Uh so pre-departure, you already had your passport, correct?
Yeah, I've had it for a while.
Okay, so if you're a new person traveling, I'm just going to tell you from the State Department's website, the cost of a passport is, and I'm going to put this on the screen. It's $130, but if it's your first time getting one, it's an additional $35 for a processing fee. And this was pulled straight from the website. I did have the website up, but I'm having issues showing other things, so I'm just going to have these numbers here. So in order to travel to Australia, you have to have a passport. If you don't already have one, $165. If you need to renew one, it's just the 130. And this is for adult males. Certain countries, you also have to have a visa. Now you can get this information on the State Department website, but And I had asked Sean. I said, Sean, did you have to pay a visa? And Sean said, nope. When he got to the airport, they do these checks and stuff at the airport. Some airports would take care of this for you, and it's free. But if you do have to pay, depending on at what step you are, it can be about $20. So just be mindful of that. And I
So I
also
do want to share. Sorry to interrupt you. I do want to share a quick story.
go ahead.
I always got stories. So my trip almost didn't even happen because I was flying with United Airlines. And United Airlines, they have like a checklist of to make sure you've done the things you need to do to fly to get to your destination.
Mhm.
And as far as the checklist went, everything was good. Everything was green. So I was in San Francisco waiting for my connecting flight, and I'm checking in, and the lady's like, all right, after I give her my passport, she's like, and your visa? I was like, my what? And she says, you need a visa. Where's your visa? I was like, I I I don't have one because everything I'd looked into, I didn't look that hard, didn't say I needed a
Mhm.
visa. And my travel for like Japan, UK, Dubai didn't need a visa. So I just thought I was okay. So she was like, all right, well, you can go online and you can apply for the visa, electronic visa. And typically you'll get that response in about 24 hours. And I'm like, 24 hours? My flight's like in 2 hours. So what can we do? Can I, fly to where I need to fly to and work it out? Wait, no, I was in Denver. Sorry, I was in Denver flying to San Francisco when this happened. Um, and
Wait. Back that up. So you didn't get this check in BWI. This happened in Denver.
right.
Okay.
At least I think it happened in Denver. Did
But
it?
but but
I don't know.
but the main reason for asking me, it didn't occur at the first airport. It occurred at one of your other layovers. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it was San Francisco. I think I was checking my bag is what it was. Yeah.
Mhm.
So anyway, so I applied online, and luckily the reply came back very quickly. It was within like 5 to 10 minutes. I didn't even move out of the line because the guy was like, "No, just stay here. We'll work this out. We'll get it done for you as quick as we can." And luckily, it came back through the e-verification within about 5 to 10 minutes, and I had my visa free of charge.
Yep.
But
So
had it not come through, I wouldn't be able to have gone.
Yep. So again, that's a travel tip as well. If you're trying to understand what you actually need when you're going to these places, I highly recommend, and I'm going to show the display up, which it gives you kind of a general overview of the mandatory stuff, but then there's the things that people just don't think about, right? If you haven't traveled in a while or you've never traveled, you may not think to apply for a visa and have that done beforehand. Airports can do it for you, but if you're bumping up on time, and you don't have travel insurance, which is something that I'm going to ask you about later, you might be out of a lot of money for such a small mistake on your
Mhm.
part. Um,
Yeah.
and then the other thing that I want to talk about when it comes to pre-departure expenses that people may not think about, passport photos. So you can get and apply for your passport at the post office. Some post office have the photo place on hand where you can get your passport photo taken there. If you want to do it beforehand, you could go to a place like CVS, and the price varies, but it's about $18 depending on where you go, and they take them all the time so they can tell you like what to wear. Some even have like shirts you can wear on hand that are like passport friendly, because there are photos that you can take that it doesn't pass the um standard for
Passport
what you
sniff
need for
test.
like a passport photo.
Yeah.
So that's just that. Now, pre-departure as well. I don't want to go too far ahead. Did you look into if you had to take any shots or have any certain immunizations prior to flying there?
No, I didn't look into it. I think I asked my friend, and
Okay.
I think she told me I wouldn't need any or something. I don't know. I don't remember looking into it, so couldn't tell you.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell people out there that's not smart. I would definitely go and check out state travel.state.gov. Go to the country that you are looking at traveling to see if you're required to have any specific shots for that place, because that's another fee that you kind of have to factor into. Luckily, for Australia, if you look here, vaccinations, none. But I'd say about 2 months prior, go to your primary care provider or look it up yourself and say, hey, I'm looking at going to such and such country. Am I caught up on all of my vaccinations and shots and things like that? And they'll make recommended things that you could have. Now, look, this stream isn't about being vaccinated against certain things versus not. I'm just kind of giving you a heads up that if you want to go ahead and take those, that there could be a fee associated with it, and each one of them is about $60 or so.
I
Let's
think that
see.
the vaccinations, I think, were on the United Airlines app. So maybe that's where I saw it and I just didn't pay any mind, and because it was like you don't need any. So yeah.
Got you. And then on this travel.state.gov website here, it talks about your passport as well as having a tourist visa. And it says yes, and it's either the visa or the electronic travel authority, which this is what Sean did. Now, was this on the computer or did you just do it on your phone?
On my phone.
Okay.
It's an
And
app
then
you just can go to your app store and download.
bam. All right. And I'm going to assume that that was free.
Yep, free.
Okay, great. All right. So your other pre-departure costs, that stuff is totally up to you, like what type of luggage you buy, if the airline charges for baggage fees or not, or if it's included, anything you might want to carry. I'm not going to go into those type of expenses, but I do at least want to talk about it so that you're aware. Is there anything that I'm missing on the pre-departure spectrum before we get into like getting to the airport costs and things like that?
Just the obvious. How you get into the airport?
All
Not
right,
you, but
all right, so talk about it. Did you drive or did you take an Uber or did you get a friend to drop you off for the price of a 6-pack or something?
I actually had my parents drop me off because they just like seeing me off, I guess, in case they never see me again. I don't know.
All right,
So
and
yeah.
because I know where you live and getting to the airport and back, I'm just gonna say for you the price of gas round trip, because I'm assuming that they had picked you up from the airport too.
Yeah, they did. I had to
All
think for a
right,
second
let's
how to
just
get back.
say, let's just throw that in. Let's just call that $80. I've got an Excel sheet that I'm gonna put the total cost of everything when it's all said and done. All
How
right.
far you driving takes $80. Just
I
kidding.
mean, hey, I'm just saying the cost of I drive a hybrid. It ain't nothing for me. Let's see. Prior to going too far, there is a question here that I want to address because you talked about Japan earlier. Pete asked, how are the women in Japan?
Pete, you're gonna have to be more specific about that.
Are
All I can tell
they
you,
all right? Let me ask this. Are they uh entertaining of foreigners?
yeah, they were all very nice. No issues with them. The only thing is, you're probably gonna be a little bit hard pressed to find Japanese women that speak good enough English to have a conversation with. Um, I ended up going to a bar one night, and it was a really nice bar. You buy like drink tickets at the door basically, which I guess is kind of smart. Also, they don't. It's a non-tipping culture, so you don't tip when you go out there. Just to let you guys know. Um, and the bar was mostly women, but the thing was, I was like, I could probably bag a few, but like, how? We can't understand each other, so I didn't even bother.
Okay.
But they're nice out there though. They know enough English to get by.
And I really should have combed out my beard. Like I was getting ready right before we went live and had some other stuff happen. But you know what? It is what it is. This is just gonna stay up on YouTube. Okay, so we've covered pre-departure costs, which we're sitting at about 183. Not for you, just in general. We've covered transportation as far as your airline fee and getting to and from the airport. Now, there's a cost associated if you were to drive yourself there and park. Each airport, they'll have like a daily rate, they'll have a weekly rate, and they'll have a monthly rate. So if you choose to go to the airport and park yourself, just be aware that airport fees are going to apply, and that's going to vary depending on where you park. I recommend to just say, hey, look, if either have family or somebody take you there, or grab an Uber if it's feasible in your market, and just go, especially if you're taking a trip longer than 10 days. The cost of getting an Uber to and from is going to be cheaper than having your car and parking it there for several days at a time.
Right.
All right. So you've got your airfare covered. Now, for you, it's going to be a little bit different when it comes to lodging, because you were going there visiting a friend, and for the most part, y'all stayed with her and her family. But had you had to pay for your own lodging, how would you have done it? Would you have done more of the Airbnb route, or would you have stayed at more of like your hotels? Not counting hostels in Australia. We're just gonna, because new travelers don't necessarily know about hostels like that, so they're not going to be looking at those. So let's go from either an Airbnb standpoint or like a hotel standpoint. What would you have done?
Yeah, I definitely would have done like an Airbnb or a hotel. So because of my job, I travel quite a bit, so I'm gone quite a while, and I rack up points. So I probably could have stayed the whole time for free off my points. That's where I'm at right now. This is not my house. I'm in a hotel room. Um, so I'm actually traveling now, racking up more points.
Nice.
But
Hey man, loan me some of them points.
But yeah, I would, because the thing is, whenever I travel, I don't need a fancy room because I'm not traveling to stay in a hotel room. I'm
Mhm.
traveling for experiences. I'm traveling for fun. So that's my advice to most people. If you're going on vacation, if you're visiting these new places, go as cheap as you're comfortable with. But also check the area that the hotel or your accommodation is going to be in, because you shouldn't be spending a lot of money on a room if you're not going to be spending much time in the room.
Okay. Okay. Now, you did stay that you and your friends stayed at hotels. She covered some of the days, you covered some of the days, and you were traveling over the holidays. So the cost is going to be a little bit more inflated than it would have been during the regular times. How much did you pay for those 2 days so that I could give an average cost over your 11-day stay there?
How much did I spend for my hotel, you mean? Or how
Yes.
much would I have spent? Mm.
Yes.
So I stayed at the Hotel Brisbane. Sorry, the Hilton Hotel in Brisbane
Mhm.
for the 2 or 3 days that I was there. I'm looking right now, and based off of today's prices right now, you're looking at about between 140 to 160 a night. Um, I'm guess that's for their standard room. Now we didn't have a standard room. I had basically one down from like a master suite, basically, where it's like a whole bunch of like 700 plus square feet. um so like I said, because I travel a lot, I get perks, so I'm able to, what I do with my perks is I go for a room that I'll like, because whatever room I pick, they give me a free upgrade to the next room size up. So
Okay.
I, I pimp the system a little bit.
All right. So you said it was like about 183 US dollars?
No, well, no, this is I'm looking right now, and it's in between 140 and 160 USD. So
All right. So let's see. Let's go right at 150, and then I'm going to times that by, you would have had a 11 night stay.
mhm,
So you're at 1650 for lodging. 1650. And let me do this.
mhm. Oh, and while you're doing that, just another tip for people out there: if you're gonna be doing international travel, get yourself a credit card that does conversions for free. I have a Capital One Venture card, and another card that I also has no conversion fee, because even when you're paying for stuff like through a credit card, through a conventional credit card, some of them will charge you a conversion fee on top of whatever your APR is. But there are some cards that don't charge that conversion fee. So definitely, if you don't have one, get one before you travel international.
Travel tip right there. I was going to cover that later on, but since you
Cool.
insist on beating me. No, no,
Uh,
no, no. See, that's good. And that's why I had you on, because you've traveled a lot. You're going to think about these things that people don't think about. Because look, if you got money and you ain't really nitpicking every $4 or $5 because you're not traveling on a budget, because I've told you, don't travel when you're broke traveling, then those conversion fees aren't going to matter. But if you are really like Scrooge McDuck, where even if you got money, you still care about how much money's coming out and how it's coming out. People forget to sometimes think about those conversion fees when you're having to convert your US dollar into whatever currency of country that you're going to. But that's something that I am going to talk about later on as well. So with lodging, just lodging alone, we haven't even gotten into food, cultural experiences, travel insurance, and things like that. We're at $1,650 for your lodging. All right. Now, let's talk about food because you got to eat. How did you budget your food while you were gone?
Ooh, I really didn't budget anything. The only thing I budgeted was like just getting there. Cause I figured once the biggest cost is your plane ticket. And like you said, you shouldn't cheap travel or broke travel. Um, but I already knew, like, since we staying with her family, that there'd be some free meals. They're not gonna not give me food. I would assume. I would hope. Um, so and also another thing you should check. And sorry, King, if you can get into this later. I don't know if you are, but
Hey,
but
man,
for instance,
right on the head.
there was one thing I did check into, and one thing you guys want to check into as well is check what the American dollar is going to do in the place where you're going to. So check your currency conversion as far as how strong or how weak the American dollar is. So for instance, $1 USD in Australia is worth basically $1.50. So I don't know if you guys can see that here. Ooh,
All right.
sorry.
Now, is that an app or did you go and Google that from your phone?
This is an app. It's called Currency Pro, I believe.
Okay.
Currency Plus. Yeah.
All right. Now, what makes it strong or weak? Like, is it like, does Currency Plus tell you that? Like, oh, yeah, like your dollar goes a long way, in this place versus it being weaker in country B. Does Currency Plus tell you that?
No, but I mean, I think it just comes down to how that country's economy is doing. Because for instance, some of the pound or what's the other one? Um, the geez, the other one that's almost as strong as a pound or stronger. What is it called?
Hey, man,
Uh,
I just work in US dollars when I'm at the strip club. Woman.
those are typically higher or they're worth more than the American dollar. So pretty much wherever else you go, you're going to get a little bit extra on that dollar you're spending every time. So you can spend a bit more, but you're also spending less at the same time, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So, for instance, if you go to Japan, at least when I went, when you spend a dollar, you're basically spending 50 cents in Japan.
That's
So
how it
for every
was when
50,
I was there. It was like 80 something cents to the dollar. It was tragic.
yeah, it's really good though, because you can kind of live like a king there. I went to dinner with my friend when I met her, and we got like a full course meal, both of us. And I think it was $40. So $40 is basically one meal here in America.
Phew.
So yeah, whatever you're buying in America, half it when you go to Japan.
Man, I went and got a Happy Meal for my kid, and that joint came out to $12. I said, yo, I remember when McDonald's Happy Meals was like $5. $12. I said, hey man, I'm gonna go get some potatoes and go cut these fries myself and have some Mac Smiths up in this house.
Right?
There was a question going back to lodging before I continue is do they have Airbnbs over in Australia? Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Okay.
I checked prior to going live, which is something that you're going to have to find out on your own as you're going to these countries. Choosing to do an Airbnb versus a hotel, they both have their pros and cons. If it's me and it's my first time going into a country, I'd recommend going the hotel route first. And then as you get familiar with the place, then check an Airbnb, or tap into a network, which is something that I'm going to talk about later on. Tap into a network. Like there's the Passport Bros Facebook group, there's Discord groups of people that travel that just share tips and things like that. But I'm going to get into those specific ones a little bit later on. Now, food. Did you
Mhm.
actually budget for food, or did you just say, I'm going to spend what I spend and it is what it is?
No, just I'm gonna spend what I'm gonna spend. It is what it is, but I knew it wasn't gonna go crazy either. So
All right.
yeah,
How much did you average a day for eating and drinking and things like that?
maybe 20 or 30 bucks, maybe.
Damn, you cheap. Okay. So let's say I'm gonna say $40, and I'm gonna times that by, you did 14 days of traveling, right? Because I'm also
I mean,
include the
but
travel
King,
day.
don't forget that the dollar is stronger out there, so you get more for spending less.
Okay.
Yeah,
Were there food on the flight, and did you have to pay for it, or was it like complimentary?
it was complimentary. It was, yeah, the food's on the flight.
Okay.
They fed me
So
3 times.
all right, so this is going to be a low end for the meals, in my opinion, but I'm just going to write $700. $700 for food for 14 days, and that's food and drinks, and that's if it's just you. Now, if you
Mhm.
going out, splurging and spending on other people while you're there, of course the cost is going to go higher. But I know Sean. Sean is cheap.
Ah, I wouldn't say
so
cheap.
So his cost is likely him. My dad, Mr. Larry Smith, is in the building. He said $130 for two in Memphis is at a
Jeez,
nice type restaurant, which is, man, I'm telling you. Ugh.
that's
All
deep.
right.
We're gonna pull
So
that old Chris Rock clip. So how about I just put my hands out. We can both eat from it. She froze.
we are looking at with your pre-departure stuff, like getting your passport, transportation, food, and lodging. It is a total of $7,606.01. And that's the bulk of what you typically have to plan for and budget when you're traveling. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, if you already have your passport and stuff, that's a small chunk. That's $130 to $165 that comes off. But this is a person who planned a flight, bought his tickets 4 to 5 months in advance, and with lodging, he ended up staying with a friend. So if we took the lodging off and just say for the couple of days that you did pay and she paid, that was still about $500. So we could take $500 off this 7,000, and we're still 7,600, and we're still at around a $7,000 trip. All right. So I want people to think about this. And there's other little fees that we haven't even gotten into yet. Like,
More
for
activities.
example, let's get into the miscellaneous stuff before we even get into activities while you're there. Did you have plans on ever driving at all while you were there?
Yeah, I did actually. So I figured that if I go there, it's probably best to just in case I need to do some driving, have a international driving permit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that is easy to get. It's very easy. It's about as easy as getting a gun. But so basically, you can go to AAA, and that's where you can get your international driving permit. I think it's about 20 bucks,
Yep.
and it's kind of the same thing as a passport a little bit, where you have to have like a passport size photo. Now, here is a travel tip or hack as far as doing the international driving permit. Take a picture with your cell phone of yourself against like a white background or whatever closest color you can find to white, and basically make sure it's like from your chest up, about from here to here. Then go to CVS and print out that photo because they have certain sizes. It might take a little bit of doing to find the right size because they do want the picture to be, I think it's like 2 inches by 1 inch or something like that. Some kind of weird, but I think that that setting is in there. So once you print that out, just take that to AAA, and they will just affix that to this little paper, not passport, the driving permit. Now, if you don't do that, they're going to charge you about $20 to take a picture of you. So, and I paid less than $1. I think it was like 20 or 30 cents for the two photos I took, and printed out from CVS. So, and the thing is, I have money, but I don't like waste my money, and I'm not going to waste my money on a photo.
There you go. So it's either going to be $20 or 20 plus the additional 20. Is that what I'm hearing?
Shoot.
Or are you saying it's $20 or wait, because
Yeah, go ahead.
go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's probably like, I don't know, somewhere between 20 and $30 for the passport and, sorry, not the passport, the permit and the photo, around there, if you
Okay,
have them do it.
yep. I've got the website pulled up here and it says pay a $20 USD permit fee and you're ready to go. And there were three dots here. I don't know what the three dots are. So you always have to kind of pay attention to if there's notes or anything. And I guess it depends. Okay, so geographical areas which honor inter-American drivers permits, blah, 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 whatever. Okay, so that didn't necessarily apply. Oh, and there's a freaking question here. Is I'm on active duty. So if you're active duty, can you apply for an IDP? It addresses there as well. I'm not going to go into it, but if you go to the website, it does talk about it. So that's another fee right there. That's miscellaneous that sometimes people don't think about. Now, story time. I had a buddy who traveled to Thailand for the first time, and he wanted to rent one of those scooters because that's one of the popular ways of traveling around in Thailand is to get one of those motorized scooters. So if they do it right, they're supposed to ask you either for a license or your IDP. But look, some will rent it to you because they want your money. And if you get pulled over and you don't have your IDP, the local government's gonna, charge you a fee. And I didn't know I had to have one isn't an excuse for most of these places, especially if if you're going to like a tourist area, they will nickel and dime you for various fees, and not knowing is not an excuse. So international driver's permit, go to AAA.com and you can search for it. Apply for it if you know you're going somewhere. If you haven't had one, do it about 3 months prior. It'll come back fast and you'll be squared away. All right. Because that $20 fee can save you. As my friend got pulled over in Thailand, he said it was about a $40 fine. So that's double the amount of the IDP for not having one. And he wasn't aware because he had never traveled internationally. It was his first time. Did you have any other miscellaneous expenses between traveling, the airport, and arriving in Australia?
No. The only thing I would say is watch your luggage weight, because they're not playing around anymore. Depending on who you get, if you're a pound or two over, they're going to charge you, at least for United Airlines, it's an extra $100. So I think you get, what is it, 50 pounds for basically for free. But once you go over that, get to that 51st pound, it's $100 extra bucks. But I think it was a $30 or $40 fee that was baked in for my luggage, I think. So if you go over, you're basically paying $130.
Ooh.
Oh, and just to Peter Lyrics, yeah, you're correct. It's euro. That's what I was thinking about. So euro and the pound, those are the more expensive currencies. Well, not expensive, but the higher rate currencies.
Okay. Now, you don't go to places just to stay in the room. So talk a little bit about any cultural experiences that you did while you were in Australia, and then give me kind of a ballpark figure, if you don't have the exact number offhand, of how much you spent on activities and things while you were there in Australia.
As far as activities, I really didn't spend anything. And here's why. Like I said, my friend, when she came to America, I took care of everything. She told me a couple things she wanted to do, and there was a couple things I threw in as well, and I took care of that. So she was more or less repaying the favor. So that being said, um, she was able to get us a car, and so there was no charge for a car. But we went to, let's see, I landed in Brisbane. We went to Bundaberg, um, and went to the Gold Coast. Now, we went to Bundaberg. We went on a rum tour. There's a distillery there called Bundaberg Rum. You guys might have seen the shirt that I wear sometimes in some of the videos, black shirt with a white polar bear. I got that from there. Um, Not sure how much that cost. I didn't look into how much it cost. I thought it would have been tacky to see how much she spent, because I appreciate when someone's doing something for me. So you went to the Bundaberg Distillery. We went to the beach. The beach was free. Where else did we go? We went to Surfer's Paradise. We got some food out there. I think I paid for food when we went out there. Um, we did. She set up a thing called Breakfast with Koalas at the Currumbin Wildlife Reserve, where you get there like 8 o'clock in the morning, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and you sit down and they bring out live koalas for you to pet, to hold, take a picture with if you paid for it, which you paid for extra, so extra fee to hold the koala bear. And I tell you, man, I don't think I've felt anything as soft as a koala bear before.
What?
They're really soft.
Hey man, I'm
Um,
gonna see if I can find one and pet a koala. I've never seen a koala in person.
Make sure you find one that doesn't have gonorrhea though,
Oh,
because yeah, they're sick with gonorrhea out there. But the ones in the wildlife preserve, they're 100% gonorrhea free. So, but
okay,
don't worry, they can't pass their type of gonorrhea to us.
okay. Fine.
Um,
Interesting.
mm-hmm. Also, if you go to Australia, if they say anything about watch out for drop bears, that's not a thing. That's just something they do to mess with you. They got me. It's not a. They say that the koala bears will drop from trees and carry you up. Basically, it's not a thing. Like little assassins, little fuzzy assassins.
That sounds like a hilarious plot to a movie. If they made cocaine bears, then they could, make a drop bear movie, man. That I think
Hmm.
would be pretty comical in my opinion.
Yeah. When you guys get a chance, Google drop bears, and you'll see it's no joke. So, but yeah, what else did we do? We went on this for New Year's night. We went on this bridge climb. I forget the bridge is called, but they give you a jumpsuit and you're in a harness, and they kind of like they clip you into the side of this bridge and you're walking upstairs basically the whole time, and it's kind of like a guided tour a little bit. And you get to the top, and then you're waiting for the fireworks to go off, and the fireworks are going off right in the river in front of you, basically from a boat. So it's a great view, and not sure how much you paid for that because, like I said, she treated me.
Mm,
Uh,
where's this at? Was this in Brisbane or Sydney?
yeah, this was Brisbane.
Okay. All right.
What else did we do? No, I can't think what else we did. But like I said, most of our activities she took care of. We also went snorkeling one day in the rain. That was fun, but it was also pretty cheap. I think it was $40 for the both of us, and that was full gear. That was a full wetsuit, snorkel, flippers. Um, what else did we do? I don't know, but yeah.
Okay. All right. So taking a look at this bridge climb Brisbane, I'm on their website now. Ooh, they say $99 super sale, and that's on ticket. Like that's the price on sale. So I'm just gonna say maybe 125. So
Mhm.
times two. All right, 50. Boom. Okay, so covering miscellaneous fees, covering your meals, assumed lodging for the entire time, but yours was a little bit different because you had somebody that you stayed with for the most part. So lodging wasn't a big part of your expense. Transportation, which was the flight, and then the getting to and from the airport, and pre-departure stuff, assuming that you never had a passport. The total of your trip, and I'm going to display this, is
Drum roll, please.
$7,976 and 76 cents.
Mhm.
7,976 $76.01. So
basically $8,000.
about $8,000, which 5,000 of that was his flight. All right. So for people that are thinking that, oh man, like traveling ain't much, you got the passport bros being all in the news and things like that. Look, traveling's not cheap. All right.
I ain't no Dusty.
We ain't Dusties over here. Could it be done? Can you go to certain places and travel and definitely not get close to $8,000 for a 14-day getaway? Absolutely. There's other countries and other destinations that we could recommend and talk about where you're not going anywhere near this for that type of getaway. And then, just like I was going to bring up as well, as you start traveling, as you network and get to know people and get into certain groups, I recommend leveraging social media groups like the Passport Bros group on Facebook, Black Men Travel Discord group, to ask people that have been to these places, some that are living in these locations, to say, hey, I'm looking at going to this location around this time period. Where's the recommended spot to stay at? Because some of these people have businesses, all right, and you get you can get a better price working through their business or whatnot, or staying at their Airbnb than you would be, traveling and staying like at like the Hard Rock or a place like that. So let me see. Oh wow, I just got a text message that was a bit of a surprise. Yo, that's insane. Sorry about getting distracted. So, how did you feel about spending for you it was a little bit cheaper. I'm gonna say so for you because you didn't have a bulk of what we have displayed here. So around about $6,000 sounds about
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
How did you
I did buy
feel?
gifts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then I also didn't talk about that when you talk about miscellaneous things as well, gifts and things like that as you're out there traveling. So, how did that make you feel spending 6 to 6,500 traveling to Australia for 14 days? Man, did you curl up in a ball in the corner after you got back, or was the experience worth
Well, here's the thing. I didn't think of it until you just told me just right now. So I'm gonna have a cry tonight.
it?
Because one thing
All
I really
right.
thought about was the airfare. I didn't think about what else I spent for everything else. So starting to well up a little bit.
Okay. Oh man, hey, I tell you what, man, it'll be all right, man. All you gotta do is think about the next trip that you're going on. How much fun you're gonna have, man, once you get out there, and
Mhm.
then come back and cry about that cost afterwards.
Right. Now, there's one thing I do want to add because I remember you had asked me, you have a friend who lives out there, and you want me to do some sort of comparison. And I think you said your friend he's African American,
Hmm.
and I don't remember how tall you said he was, but I think he's
He's
average.
he's under 6 foot. So you're an over 6 foot brother. Tell me about your experience there in general, being that it was your first time in Australia as an over 6 foot Black American male.
Once again, just like Japan, everyone was nice. I didn't ever really feel out of place. Now where I was at, there aren't a lot of black people. The black people I did see, that I would assume they were probably African. I couldn't tell. But I was on the dating apps out there just to see what kind of traction I would get, and I was getting traction. Let's put it that way. But I didn't meet anyone because I was with my friend, and that would have been tacky. But yeah, there was definite interest. There was a couple of women that wanted me to meet them and wanted to to hang out. Me and my friend went out to a bar one night, and some lady came up to me. I was wearing my ball cap, and she started talking to me. Took my ball cap off, put it on her head, and started dancing with me. So you know, and I didn't do anything. But that could be because I'm just a handsome brother. I don't know. And I'm pretty tall. So, but at the same time, it's another thing that the women on average, they are tall out there. Not tall, but taller than American women on average. So I'd probably say their average out there is probably like 5'7" to 5'9".
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most of them are reasonably fit. Not like, in the gym every day fit, but not obese, reasonably fit.
All right. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up as well, how was the weather there? Like you were there over New Year's. Was it cold? Was it, mild? Did it feel like
Mhm.
spring in Maryland? Talk
I
about it.
lucked out. I lucked out because so I went there December into January, and basically when it's winter here in the northern hemisphere, it's summer down there. But it was for the days I was there, it was a mild summer, so it was in like the mid to high 70s, low 80s the whole time I was there. So it wasn't too hot. I had gone out and no, actually, I went on Amazon because I sweat. I just sweat a lot in the sun or when it's hot out. So I bought some cream. I think it's called like Sweat Block, and didn't even really need to use it because it was pretty temperate out. So it wasn't too hot, wasn't too cold. It was pretty much just right. Um, and yeah, also I saw 3 spiders the whole time I was there, and they weren't that big. So I lucked out on that too.
I hate you because while you were having fun in the sun in Australia over Christmas and New Year's, I was having freezing temperatures here in the decent state of Maryland. I almost said the great state of Maryland, but I really don't like it here.
Oh, sorry to hear that, buddy.
All right, man. Hey, is there anything else that we missed that you want to bring up that you think might be relevant that somebody can learn? Think about it from the perspective of, hey, they haven't really traveled, and you just might want to share something that most people just simply don't think about.
Oh, so just popped into my head. So here's kind of like an extra charge. I wouldn't even say charge, but something you have to think about. When you're spending all this money on vacation, don't forget your bills at home don't stop. So you got to make sure that you're not overspending and then you default on your bills. So I don't have a problem with that. Call my bills that are pretty much on auto pay. I didn't have to pay anything up before I left. But definitely keep that in mind because you're spending a couple of grand to go on vacation. Your bills don't stop.
Bills don't stop. And did you get travel insurance?
I did. I wish I didn't, but I did. But I did feel safer with it.
So, see, everybody says that travel insurance is one of those expenses, and I didn't add that into the cost. Travel insurance is one of those expenses that you regret not getting it when you need it, but when your trip is done and you think about the cost that you spent, you're like, oh, I could have used that on something else.
Mhm.
So, how much was your travel insurance?
I think it was between like $300 and $400 extra.
Okay,
Um,
so I'm gonna say 350.
yeah.
Okay.
And basically, what travel insurance would have done is if I had missed a flight or if I needed to rebook a flight or weather and this and that, basically you're not paying anything extra. They more or less take care of it. If your luggage gets lost, they take care of that as well. Luggage gets damaged, they take care of that. So it's worth the money you pay should something happen. But that's what insurance is. Should something happen, and if nothing happens, that's money gone to the ether that you set on fire.
Where did you get your travel insurance at? Because there's plenty of places that folks can go. Where'd you get yours at?
I bought mine through United Airlines.
Okay.
So
So
yeah,
I'm going to
maybe
foot stomp this.
it might have been Expedia, either Expedia or United Airlines. I forget which.
Okay. I'm going to foot stomp this. I'm going to definitely recommend it is an extra expense. Budget for it. I'm going to recommend getting travel insurance. I'm going to tell you, I had my butt saved with travel insurance by paying, it was an extra $375 for me, and ended up missing a flight. And with the way that my travel insurance was set up, I was able to actually get on another flight without having to pay anything extra. I didn't have to pay a deductible. But the reason why, they oversold the flight, so I got lucky with that, sort of. But having that travel insurance helped me out because if I didn't have it, I would have had to pay the cost for a one-way ticket back, and that extra added expense would have been about 3 to 4 times what my travel insurance rate was. So I always say if you are going to travel, spend the money and purchase travel insurance. And there's plenty of different ones. I'm not going to recommend one. I'm just going to say look up travel insurance and get what works for you. Or if you're getting your tickets through a third-party travel site like Expedia or whatnot, they do offer it. I'd say get it. You'd rather, telling you, spend it and not need it than to have something happen and you don't have it and realize that your expenses are going to be 2 to 3 times what that travel insurance was.
Yeah, that's facts right there.
Bet. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to join and share the cost of your trip. For the people that watched, I hope this helped you out. I hope it kind of demystified the true cost of traveling to some place. I wanted to use a real life example for what Sean did to show how much it would cost to travel from the United States and the East Coast. The cost is going to be cheaper if you're, traveling from the West Coast, but to get from Maryland to Brisbane, Australia, $8,326 when you factor
Yeah.
in transportation, lodging, food, cultural experiences, travel insurance, and the cost of your passport. Sean,
Yeah.
I appreciate you doing this, my man.
Sure.
Do you have any closing words?
Yeah, I was wondering if anyone left in the comments has any questions, actually. So,
Oh, yeah. You know what? I meant to actually take on questions. So we're gonna hang back for a bit, see if there are any additional questions, and if we don't have any, we are going to close out the show. But while we do, so that we don't have dead air, uh, how scrunched up were you that first flight out there when you didn't purchase that extra leg room? How mad were you too?
another good question. Now I say this in jest, but the thought went through my head. I would never do this, but the thought I was going kind of crazy in the plane where I was starting to get a headache. I was definitely irritable, and I was like, you know what? I'm about to open this emergency door and just end it for everybody. That's how upset I was. um, so yeah, if you're, and here's the thing. So I thought I'd be slick by getting an aisle seat because I was like, all right, if I can at least put my leg out into the aisle and
Mhm.
and stretch out a little bit. But here's the thing: being in the aisle seat, that's where all the food comes. That's where people go to the bathroom. And so every time I fell asleep, probably like every 5, maybe 10 minutes, if I was lucky, I get about 5 to 10 minutes of sleep before someone was bumping me awake. So it was causing me to go a little bit crazy. Of course, I wasn't acting up in the plane, but it was uncomfortable and I started getting hot. I had bought a fresh pair of like Nike Air Forces. I could feel my feet were sweating. And I was like, I want to take these off, but I don't want to kill everybody in the plane with my feet smell. um, so yeah, so I was not happy. And as I told myself on the way back, there's no way I'm flying economy on the way back. So I spent the almost close to $1,000 for a better seat, and it was worth it. It was more room. It was more. I wasn't cramped at all. I got better service. I think I got better food too. And I noticed that in what I'm just going to call business class, we actually got silverware. It wasn't like plastic. It was actually metal silverware. So I think you get better food too when you pay for the higher prices. It isn't just a seat. So you get a pillow, a blanket, you get the good headphones. And I think they treat you a bit better up there. So a couple of the perks.
Nice.
So I still have not flown first class. One day I'm gonna fly first class. Um,
Hey, I tell you, flying first class is absolutely worth it, man. Once you do, you don't want to fly any other way ever again. So I'm definitely going to be one to say, get your money up and fly first class.
yeah, I saw like a family in first class, and like the kids were like 5 and 6 years old. I was like, oh my god, how much money do you have? You put your kids in a first class seat.
There was a question in the live stream, how long was the flight? And you kind of talked about it earlier. I put the itinerary up on the screen if you want to answer it again, Sean. About how long was the flight?
Yeah, so let me see here. That was okay. So yeah, I guess I departed at 4 p.m. from BWI, got to Denver because of the time change. That's like a 4-hour flight to Denver from BWI. So, but you're crossing over time zones. So I got there at 6 p.m. Um, and my flight was 1:30 p.m. out of Denver the next day. So I have a friend who lives in Denver. I stayed with her the night. Um, we got dinner and just kind of hung out. So save money there too. I'm a savvy person. I know how to save money. I'm not cheap. But if I didn't know anyone in Denver, I probably would have got a hotel room. Um, so from Denver to San Francisco, that's about 2 hours. But once again, I think you're crossing over another time zone. So I think you lose about an hour there. So I think it's like a 4-hour flight again, or three-hour flight. I don't know. Probably a 3-hour flight. And then left 11:20 p.m. as you can see on the screen from San Francisco, and got to Brisbane at 7:30 a.m. Once again, you're crossing over a bunch of time zones. So that was about a 14-hour flight. Definitely, like I said, do not fly economy if you're over 6 feet. If you're over 5'8", don't fly economy. Just spend the extra money for a better seat.
All right, so look, I'm 5'8" and about 260. Like, I'm not a small dude. I'd say, like, if you sizey, that kind of matters too. So if you're sizey and if you're over, yeah, like 5'8", 5'9", spend the extra money for, I think it's premium case the next, or they might call it like economy plus. It depends on the airline.
Right. Yeah, so
Okay.
you're going to be shoulder to shoulder in economy because that was the other thing. Even though it's partially in the aisle with my shoulder and my leg, I still had another dude on my shoulder like this in economy. So that's why. So definitely, if you're my size or close to my size, save money up, get someone to give you some money, take out a loan. Don't fly economy that's that long. Don't do it.
Pete
You've been
said
warned.
Pete said I'm not 5'8", I'm 4'8".
Oh, shots fired.
Everybody got jokes.
You said you called you Papa Smurf.
All right. Hey, Sean, thanks for taking the time to join. Seeing as though we don't have any other questions, I am out. I am about to go mod another live stream for tonight. I did get up and re-edit one of the shorts. It was actually my fault that the sound wasn't there. So I re-uploaded it, man, and I'll have that fixed. Hey, y'all, look, thanks for tuning into our live stream here at TDG. We wanted to also kind of talk about just traveling and getting out and experiencing life and things like that. So we're bringing not just dating and relationship stuff over here, but other things that's kind of associated with that. We've got another live stream coming up within the next 2 weeks. We haven't locked down the date just yet, but it's going to be a follow-up to Rebecca and her daughter. So it's a mother and a
Ooh.
daughter who are both dating and getting
Not
their
each other.
experiences. Yeah.
Not each other.
Oh yeah. Hold on. Not each other. This is not Alabama. All right. Pete asked, could we take a look at his, I'm assuming his Plenty of Fish dating?
Yeah.
Hey, if you got some screenshots that you can send me, I'm not going to call myself a dating app expert. I know like the science behind kind of how you should build things, but I am curious if you're asking. I know that there's other people that would kind of talk about it as well. If you're comfortable with us doing it and using it for content, send it to me via messenger and I'll take a look. If you don't want me to do it in content and you're just asking to take a look, I mean, come on, Pete, I definitely will for you, my guy. Absolutely. So just shoot me the okay, so he said that we can do it for content. All right, shoot it to me via messenger or text it to me and I'll put it together. And Sean, is this something that you think we could do live or maybe do it pre-recorded and put it out there?
Yeah, we can do it live, and maybe even Pete can join us, or Peter, wherever you go by, can join us live if he feels up to it, or if he can. But if not, we can do it with his information he sends in.
Okay. And hey, Pete, I appreciate you. Don't be alarmed because it ain't just gonna be us. When it gets up on the internet, on Al Gore's internet, anybody can rate it and comment and things like that. But the fact that you're asking, I think is dope. So absolutely, my man.
Okay.
And he said that he would love to join us. Okay, we will schedule a date and make that work, brother.
How much time you got until you go into your other feed, the other thing?
Oh, I'm getting off right now.
Okay, all right. I was gonna make a comment, but we can save it for next time. That's fine.
All right. Hey, y'all. Thanks for tuning in to TDG Live with Sean and myself. I am out. Peace.
Let's get it. Shake it like understand who I is. Not that many gon' do it like this. Bob your head, you can hear my shit, but I'm on my shit. I had no chill. I'm who I are, I'm who I is. Taylor Susan, I play the part. Funkify, how you mesmerize. Black Austin Pies, man, that I'm stupid. Then again, oh so clever. On my loony, pour that lever. Talk my shit, I'm talking hella flow, baby. You